And the Twitter files, which Matt Taibbi has reported on, have underscored that, showing, just major coordination between tech giants and the national security state and a bunch of front groups of the national security state. And if you remember back recently when Matt Taibbi testified before Congress, Stacey Plaskett, who is a non-voting member of Congress, she smeared Matt Taibbi and his fellow witness, Michael Schellenberger. Among many things, she called them a threat. So let's show that clip first, and then we're going to tell you the latest in this saga. But this is what Stacey Plaskett said to Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger back when they testified just recently.
A threat to the people who oppose them, whatever that means.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not exaggerating when I say that you have called before you 2 witnesses who pose a direct threat to people who oppose them.
So that's Stacey Plaskett, member of Congress. Well, fast forward to now, to this week, and guess what Stacey Plaskett just did to Matt Taibbi? She threatened him with prison time. In a letter that she sent to him, she accused Matt Taibbi of making false statements when he appeared before Congress and noted that the penalty for that is perjury. And what is the basis for her saying all this? Well, it's Mehdi Hasan. Mehdi Hasan, the MSNBC Peacock host who brought on Matt Taibbi and tried to find any factual errors in his reporting. It turns out that what Mehdi thought was an error in Matt's reporting in one significant case wasn't actually an error. But in the process, Mehdi accused Matt of lying to Congress intentionally misleading Congress. And in Stacey Plaskett's letter to Matt Taibbi, she cites that interview with Mehdi Hasan as evidence that he misled Congress. And now she's threatening him with years in prison. So here is Li Fang, who revealed this. And Li Fang also, by the way, revealed that Mehdi got it wrong. And it's such a stupid issue because it totally distracts from the point, which is the substance of Matt's reporting, which nobody wants to discuss because they don't want to look at the fact that, social media has been weaponized and used to go after dissent. But basically, it has to do with an acronym between 2 different groups, CIS, the Center for Internet Secure or Information Security, and CISA, which is a government agency. And in one tweet, Matt basically mixed those up, CIS and CISA. But in Congress, he didn't. So Mehdi got it wrong, and in Congress, Matt mixed those up, which he didn't. And regardless, it's a distinction without a difference because both of these groups, CISA, which is a government agency, and CIS, which is a nonprofit, both of them are government funded, and both of them have worked together to try to police the internet. So really, the distinction doesn't even matter. But even to the extent that it does, Mehdi got it wrong. So basically, in the letter, Stacey Plaskett cites Matt's comments before Congress and then uses Mehdi Hasan's claims about them to accuse him of lying.
Yeah. So basically, we have a sitting member of Congress who's a non-voting member of Congress. It's kind of a fake member of Congress, but she's decided that her participation in this weaponization of the federal government subcommittee is going to be her opportunity to make it into prime time as the pit bull attack dog for the Democrats, taking down all Jim Jordan's witnesses. And it's culminated. I don't even know if this is the culmination with her calling for 5 years in prison for a journalist for simply getting an acronym wrong. It's kind of remarkable. And Mehdi Hasan has completely, the whole point of, we went through this before, the whole point was to create the sense among the Democratic base that Matt Taibbi had got up there and completely lied under oath, that everything he said was a lie. And so Stacey Plaskett is seizing on that to call for the imprisonment of a journalist, which is totally is ironic in the context of what Taibbi and Schellenberger's testimony was about, which is the state censoring social media in order to prevent the public from seeing dissident views. So this is just consistent with a government and an administration in particular that is afraid of people, afraid of the American people, and wants to suppress their impulses to rebel at a time of imperial decline.
And, this is not just coming from Stacey Plaskett. In Li Fang's latest article on this, and Li Fang debunked the claims that Mehdi made about Matt Taibbi. And Mehdi responded to Li Fang, by the way, not by challenging anything he reported, but by calling Li an Islamophobe.
Oh, yeah, I remember
These
that.
are two former colleagues at The Intercept, and Mehdi's response to Li's factual debunking of Mehdi's claims about Matt Taibbi is to call Li an Islamophobe.
Well, he had previously called him an Islamophobe, and it was because Li brought up that Mehdi had worked for Qatari media, and it might have been in the context of Mehdi doing some Russiagate business or something.
Well, what happened was Mehdi said something about Tulsi Gabbard and some sort of guilt by association, tying her to Modi. And Li said, basically, by your standards, you'd be guilty of the same thing because you draw a paycheck from a Gulf dictatorship. And he was saying, just as it wouldn't be fair to dismiss you, even though you draw a paycheck from a Gulf dictatorship, you're not being fair to Tulsi Gabbard. That was his point.
And then Mehdi was like, "Go! Why don't you put on your MAGA hat? Exactly. Oh, you Islamophobe! Oh, how dare you?" Because there's nothing he could say.
So here is Li Fang pointing out that this letter actually did not just come from Stacey, although it was signed by Stacey Plaskett. It did not just come from her. It was a group effort, so when Li sent an inquiry to Plaskett's office, he got a response not from Plaskett, but by an advisor to House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, and the metadata on the letter that Stacey Plaskett sent to Matt Taibbi shows it was authored by Jackie Kapler, a lawyer with the House Judiciary Committee who works closely with former House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler. So this is not just Stacey Plaskett. This is the people who work closely with Hakeem Jeffries and Jerry Nadler. So this is basically the House Democratic leadership calling for the imprisonment of a journalist.
Yeah. And I don't know, has Matt responded in any way?
Matt responded. I think he just called on Mehdi to retract his false claims. And last time I checked, it's hard for me to do it because I'm blocked by Mehdi. But last time I checked, Mehdi had not said a word about this. So basically, his false claims are being used to call for the jailing of a journalist. And now, after being so braggadocious, claiming falsely that he had debunked Matt Taibbi's reporting, when in reality he had caught a couple of errors and also falsely claimed that some were errors. Mehdi's gone completely silent on this. So nothing to say about his false claims being used to call for the imprisonment of a journalist.
Well, last week we talked about the U.S.-funded intel by proxy outfit Bellingcat or Bellingcop helping to catch a leaker, the Pentagon leaker, before the FBI could. And now we see another, I wouldn't even call Mehdi Hasan a journalist because he's never done journalism. He's just sort of a broadcast personality, setting the stage for a U.S. official to at least call for or threaten a journalist with imprisonment for exposing the state.
Which I think, Max, is Mehdi's most notable journalistic achievement. I agree with you. He doesn't do any journalism. He's a pundit and a complete opportunist. But if you look at his contribution to the field of journalism, I believe this is his most significant one. Putting out false claims that lead to a member of Congress calling for the imprisonment of an actual journalist. That's Mehdi's, so far, most notable journalistic accomplishment.
Well, I want to point to another accomplishment by Mehdi Hasan in journalism. And we've covered some of his past public speaking highlights, but he also wrote a great column back in 2000 calling for the spanking of children. And no harm in smacking. This is when Mehdi Hasan, I guess, was in kind of his conservative phase, when he believed that people who love dogs and music are satanic, as well as homosexuals. So what first of all, what would possess you to write a column calling for hitting children? It's weird. And it turns out this column was plagiarized, according to Lee, who actually dug into Mehdi's background and found that the column, word for word, was basically based on another column from U.S. News and World Report, When to Spank.
Well, I
Here's
stand
Mehdi. I
corrected.
mean, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to go reading it. But this guy's got issues, man. And he has ethical issues as well as journalistic issues. But there's also, other ethical issues here. And they relate to Stacey Plaskett, because before she was known for screaming at journalists, threatening them with jail time, calling them a threat to those around them, she was a movie star. Well, not really a movie. It was more like a kind of a sex tape. Private video of Virgin Islands Democratic delegate posted online. And just like Anthony Weiner, she said it was hacked, that she was hacked. A private videotape of the Virgin Islands delegate to Congress, Democratic Stacey Plaskett, which showed her husband naked and wearing makeup, was posted online Wednesday. A topless selfie of Plaskett was also being circulated. She said her computer was hacked and someone copied a private family video. This is what she calls a private family video. The video shows a nude Buckney Smollett's her husband wearing makeup as Plaskett films it, according to news reports. Plaskett is heard speaking to her husband in the recording. One of the couple's children makes an appearance in the video as well, according to the statement. A Virgin Islands news organization described it as a bizarre video. So I don't know, maybe she has some problems she needs to take care of at home before she starts jailing people who criticize the CIA. Who wound up leaking that tape, or who are the hackers? The hackers were actually her own staffers who really clearly love working for her. And they were indicted. Basically, it was like the Hunter Biden laptop, but it was the cell phone from hell. They worked for Plaskett in 2015 and 2016. And according to the Department of Justice press release, one of the staffers offered in March 2016 to take her malfunctioning iPhone to a local Apple store for service. The device contained lewd photos, which the staffer later distributed online using a fake Facebook account. So, yeah, as I said, her staff must love her as much as Matt Taibbi now does. Very pleasant people.